Welcome into Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. Grade today's press conferences from Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, A, B, C, D, or F. If you didn't watch it, we'll kind of give some of my top takeaways in just a second, so you can grade it after if you want. But A, B, C, D, or F, I'll go like C. I mean, not a lot of new information, but it was a little bit better than the season-ending one that included Ted Phillips and George McCaskey. Give it a C, C-. Nothing great, but a little bit of information was passed along. So get your grades in, and I'll get into my takeaways in just a moment. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. You can follow me on Twitter at HGrahamNFL. 4 key press conference takeaways from Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. We heard from Ryan Pace first, but we'll kind of collaborate all of it into one video here. Number one, the quarterbacks are obviously the discussion point that everybody wants to know and hear about. And let's just be clear. The Bears were not going to come out with their GM and head coach and be like, yeah, we've called the Texans about Deshaun Watson. That's not how things go. They're keeping their cards close to their vest. They're keeping their QB search private. A, because there's competitive advantage reasons, and B, they're just not gonna address other players on other teams. That's just not what they're going to do. They have a process. They're going through their process. I'm sure they've been evaluating every quarterback that is available out there on the open market. Now, Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky were mentioned specifically, especially from Matt Nagy, as far as, on-field things go. Talking about, we could have done some things better when it comes to Nick Foles. He could have done some things better. He talked about the injuries that kind of piled up while Foles was out there. And we've mentioned that Nick Foles could be an option if a lot of other things fall through, because Nick Foles was at least on the roster for next season. He is under contract, so don't rule out the possibility of him being an option. Now, I think it's a long shot. I think ideally he's your backup quarterback, but he's your only quarterback under contract. Mitch Trubisky was referred to as well in terms of, he kind of indirectly referred to as what are some things that I look at in quarterbacks and what they need to do well. And Nagy said, Mitch and Foles, they have their strengths, they have their weaknesses, as all quarterbacks do. But I thought Matt Nagy made one key point that really stood out to me. He talked about how important leadership was at the quarterback position. And obviously, of course, quarterback needs to be a leader, right? And he said every quarterback leads in different ways. But I think what he's saying is we need a quarterback that's going to come in here and grab this offense and run with it. And no disrespect to Nick Foles, no disrespect to Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not attacking their character or leadership abilities. Both of those guys have good attributes, but he's looking for that franchise quarterback, which is, of course, what the Bears are looking for, because the head coach and the GM are on the hot seat, and they need a quarterback if they want to win in 2021 and if they want to keep their job. So not a lot of new information. Rumors are going to continue to circulate, but trust me on this, the Bears are evaluating every single option that is out there, which is what Ryan Pace essentially said, saying everything is on the table. What will the Bears do at quarterback? We'll go ahead and make this the pinned comment on today's video. Type T for trade for one, type S for sign one in free agency. I think that's the least likely. Or type D for draft one. If you get hit with the ad break, go ahead and scroll on down and answer this question. Now, you probably just got hit with the ad break, but join the Noti Gang if you haven't already. First, you have to subscribe to do that, so you subscribe if you haven't already. Then click that notification bell and follow these steps. And the reason you do this is you get notified every time we post a video, and you never ever miss a video. Go to the settings app, scroll down, tap the YouTube icon, tap notifications, and then turn on allow notifications. That will pop up for you, and every time we post a video, you'll get a notification on your phone. Boom, click and watch today, and maybe, just maybe, you can join the first comment club, our most recent videos here. These are the 5 users or subscribers to the channel that have commented first. It's a competitive thing on YouTube. Your best chance is turning notifications on, because I guarantee you all these guys have their noties turned on, because we're getting 10, 20 comments within the first minute of the video being posted. Congrats to Andrew, Daniel, Kenny, Joel, and Matthew on that one. We'll continue to shout you guys out, but turn on those notifications. Be the first person to comment on our upcoming videos. Number 2 press conference takeaway. the Bears are tagging Allen Robinson. Now, they didn't come out and say that, and they're not going to, but Ryan Pace said, look, the franchise tag is at our disposal. We know that. That's something the NFL provides. And they kept using, the generic phrases like, we know how Allen Robinson feels about us. We know how we feel about him, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. They're going to tag him. I would be very, very surprised if they didn't. Now, Pace throughout we haven't made a firm decision on if we're going to use the franchise tag with A-Rob or not. I would put it at about 97%. I think they're going to tag Robinson, and we'll see what the response is from A-Rob, because to kind of tie into this, Ryan Pace did get asked about the salary cap situation. It's a challenging situation because he said they're anticipating the salary cap to be about $180, $185 million, which would be less than last year. Easiest way to work with that, just tag Allen Robinson and not worry about a long-term commitment. Now, I want to get a long-term deal done. I think Allen Robinson is worth it. I am definitely still team #SignAR, and that could still happen even after a tag. Keep this in mind. Get your #SignARs in. You could tag Robinson, get quarterback figured out while you have more time, and then you could sign him later. You have until July. I can't remember the exact date, but you have 3 or 4 extra months after the tag window closes to still get a deal done with said player who ended up getting tagged. But I'll just say this right now with conviction, Allen Robinson will get tagged by March 9th, which is the deadline for NFL teams to tag players. I'd be floored if he wasn't. So what will happen with A-Rob? We'll let you guys vote. Type F for franchise tag, type C for he'll get a new contract. Both can't happen, like I mentioned, but we'll just say by March 9th. I'm going to type my F for franchise tag. I think the Bears tag him, and, they deal with whatever those consequences may be. So get your votes in, F for franchise tag or C for contract. Now, we've got some Chicago Bears gear available for you guys, St. Patty's edition, because the month of March is here, and you can get your green gear available at chatsports.com/BearsGreen. Tons of different styles on these shirts. You can get these custom ones also. You can put whatever number, whatever name you want on the back there. You can enter that information when you check out. Hey, we got gear for the ladies as well for any of you gals watching, or if you have a wife, a daughter, whatever, you can hook her up with some Bears St. Patty's gear. St. Patty's Day is a lot of fun, even if it's going to be a little bit different this year. Get your gear today at chatsports.com/BearsGreen. That link is in the comments. It's in the description. One more time, that's chatsports.com/BearsGreen. Number 3 press conference takeaway from Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. The Bears are very confident in this staff. Now, again, with a lot of these other takeaways, they're not going to come out there and be like, I don't feel great about that Sean Desai guy. But Matt Nagy did say he interviewed 9 defensive coordinator candidates, ultimately landed on Desai, spoke to his unbelievable connection, I believe was the term, with his players. He mentioned that with Sean Desai, and that's been something that players have really mentioned as well. On Twitter after the hiring, you saw a lot of these players say, hey, we like the hire, that type of thing. And Nagy said that, talked about a lot of the coaches, said this is an ego-free staff, has a lot of respect for a guy like Mike Pettin, who will work under Sean Desai, really side by side as a former defensive coordinator and a head coach in the NFL. He talked about Tom Herman's role with the staff and potentially bringing more college looks to this offense, so we'll see what happens there. All things considered, from Pace and Nagy, they feel good about the coaching changes that took place this offseason. I like the move of Sean Desai when it happened. I like it now. I think it'll be a more aggressive and youthful style in today's NFL. So we will see what happens there, but they're confident. We'll just have to see what happens once the season rolls around. And last takeaway, and really not a lot here because I was surprised, and shout out to the Bears local media for not really asking this, or about Roquan Smith, by the way, about the 5th-year option. We won't really discuss that. Offensive line not really mentioned. I was surprised that there weren't a question of, here, I'll be a reporter guy. Hey, how are you going to address the tackle position? Pace or Nagy? I don't know. But still, you should ask the question, and it wasn't asked, which kind of annoyed me, but we've talked about it here on Chicago Bears Now. I think your interior is likely what it is on screen. Whitehair, Mustipher, Daniels, some combination of that. I think Mustipher will be your center, and I think Whitehair and Daniels will be your starting guards. But what about tackle? What about Charles Leno? What about Bobby Massey? They didn't really ask him about if any of those guys could get cut. Now, there was a kind of a loose question of, after releasing Buster Skrine of, hey, are you going to release more players because of the salary cap? And Pace said it's obviously a unique situation with the cap this year, but no offensive line-related questions, at least specifically, so we don't really know anything more than we knew, 2 hours ago when it comes to this offensive line. I still think one of Charles Leno or Bobby Massey will likely get cut. I don't think it'll be both, but I think one will probably hit the road, and they will either draft a tackle or maybe Alex Bars slides out and plays right tackle in 2021 as he is an exclusive rights free agent. But not a lot of new discussion when it comes to the offensive line. We, of course, will continue to explore it here on Chicago Bears Now, but quarterback and O-line have been the two big position talking points this offseason, and quarterback was a big talking point at the presser, but offensive line wasn't. Speaking of players getting cut, we already saw Buster Skrine hit the road. Name a player or players the Bears should cut. Let's hear it from you guys in the comments section. Name a player that you guys believe Chicago should cut this offseason.